Draught For Upside. I am Brewery Mark, and today I am joined by Adam White and Chris Emmerich. How's it going, gentlemen?
Just lovely. How about yourself, guys?
Most excellent. So, as we like to start off every show, what's everybody drinking away on tonight?
Nothing to brag about. I just got a good old-fashioned Labatt Blue Light because it's all I had at my store here. I'm still at the job, so. But it will suffice. It is beer.
I don't know, Adam. Drinking on the job, I don't know that I can support that. I don't think that drinking during business hours is very good practice. What about you, Mark?
Generally not. But...
Unless you're selling it sitting across from somebody. I mean, you wouldn't buy food from a chef who wouldn't eat his own food, right?
There you go. That's true. I don't like any fat. I don't like any skinny cooks either.
That's right. It's a true story. So, I mean, you wouldn't buy beer from me if I wouldn't drink that beer with you.
That is correct.
It's a true story.
I was after hours, by the way. We closed at 6, so we're fine.
Perfect. Well, we had a collaboration today with our friends at Listerman's Brewing Company in Cincinnati, Ohio. Drove up to South Lyon, Michigan to make a 14% Imperial Brown Ale that we're going to age in maple bourbon barrels with cashews.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't wait to try that. So the proposed name for this, Mark, you might get a kick out of this, is Brew It or Lose It. And it's basically a attempt to mimic Cashew Mountain Brown from Founders from about 7 years ago.
Yeah. It sounds delicious. I love cashews.
It's gonna be really freaking good. So I can't wait for that. So maybe I'll have to meet up and share some with you in like 9 months when that beer's ready.
Well, I'll just come to the source and just.
All right.
I'll sneak back there and tap it right off the keg. It's fine.
Yeah, sounds like a great idea. Yeah, the production manager is very ill today, so he wouldn't tap any bourbon barrels to try the goods inside today. I was highly disappointed. But what are you gonna do?
My Blue Light's tasting worse by the minute.
Well, I might have one worse because I didn't get to the store today, so. I had a 6-pack of Sam Adams White Christmas sitting in the fridge because the wife likes it, but it's it's a decent spice beer that they release around Christmas. I just don't like spice beer.
Nah, I agree with you. Well, it's all better than me. I got a nice cold glass of water, so lame.
Yeah, you are lame.
I know.
Any reason for that?
Oh, there's lots of reasons for that.
Any good ones?
Not radio worthy, they are not.
Fair enough.
But, yeah, man. I hope everybody had a really good weekend. I had a blast. Went and did the ducky swim at the local pool with the littles. That was pretty entertaining. They take the local high school pool and they fill it full of like 4,000 rubber duckies. It's pretty entertaining. Yeah, the 2-year-old thinks that's with water. Yeah, they think that's about the coolest thing that could ever happen. So it's fun to watch 2-year-olds' eyes just completely bug out of their brains.
So what are you drinking there, Chris?
I've got some Sam Smith's organic chocolate stout. I, like everybody else, don't have a lot in the house, but as I was saying, I'm pretty excited. Heading out to D.C. tomorrow. Not excited that I'm heading out to D.C., but I am picking up some brewery reserve beers that have been sitting waiting for me, of which my favorite, Chocolate Rain. Thinking about splitting it with somebody, but thinking about just drinking one by myself and seeing where things go.
Man, I like that Sam Smith organic chocolate. I mix it with their apricot beer, like 50-50, and it's incredible.
I have some strawberry, so I'm probably going to do that. The wife likes it, so periodically when we go to the store, she'll end up being really optimistic that she's going to drink, because she doesn't drink very much. One drink and she's done. So she'll routinely buy stuff when we go to the liquor store, and then she'll never drink it. She's got like 4 bottles of wine from a year ago. These have been sitting here for about a month. So, it's time. It's time for me to take over. Do it.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're listening to Draught For Upside. We're brought to you by I'mABeerHound.com, and we're on the Legends Sports Network at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. We have a jam-packed show today for you. We're going to be talking some NFL from last weekend. We're going to preview NFL coming up from this upcoming weekend. We're going to talk PGA. We're going to talk more beer. And if we have time, we might even do a mock draft and talk some TV and movies. How's that sound to all you guys?
Man, I like all that.
Yeah.
I like all that.
Sounds good.
So the NFL last weekend, man. I mean, we were okay. We did all right picking the games. Not against the spread if your name is Johnny Danger, but everybody else we did okay.
I was happy going 7-1 straight up.
Did you go with the O for Danger?
Against the spread, yes. I did not do well against the spread. So, I picked 3 out of 4 winners, but 0 for 4 against the spread.
Well, that's not easy to do. So
no, it's very difficult. I'm very proud of myself.
So
very proud of
myself. This week maybe we should give you an extra point or two on the spread, trying to just boost up your numbers a little bit, give you a little teaser here, a little teaser.
I think so. I think I just need to quit trying to be contrarian. I just don't like it when we all agree. It irritates me.
More than going 0 for 4?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd rather go 0 for 4 than agree with you schmucks. So it's fine.
Well, there's only 2 games, so you can't go 0 for 4 this week.
Right? It was a fun week, man. I mean, I really enjoyed those games a lot more than the first week, and that Saints game, man, I thought first like 10 minutes just how flat the Saints came out, and then it really turned into a great game after that. So I really enjoyed that game, and then watching Sony Michel single-handedly dominate a team was pretty impressive too.
Yeah, I'll tell you that Saints game. When I was watching it, there was at one point where I was just going to remark about how pathetic Lattimore was playing. Immediately after, he made a huge play, and it really just kind of turned around the whole momentum of the game and changed the course. The other games kind of the way that I thought, except for the New England Chargers game going completely the other way. So it was nice to have some validation and still have some surprise as well.
Yeah,
I'm just pissed off.
I was surprised at how bad the Chargers played in that game. That was just horrible.
Unbelievable. I was very surprised by that being a blowout. I wasn't shocked the Patriots won, but I was expecting a pretty tight battle back and forth. I thought Rivers, it was kind of his time to shine, but God, they just came out flat and could not withstand the storm off the bat. That was just over by about mid-second quarter at latest.
Yeah, and their defense was what really killed me, because I know they were just middle of the road defense this year, but down the stretch their defense was playing really good and keeping them in games when they weren't scoring a lot, and the Patriots just destroyed them. I mean, Sony Michel, come on, how do you let that guy go 3 touchdowns in the first 2 quarters?
I didn't think it'd be that big of a blowout. I mean, I picked the under, to be honest, and I didn't think it'd score that high, but I was high on New England to win this game. I mean, I thought that the Chargers were a little overrated coming in. I didn't like how they played in the first game. They had to travel over there. I know they've had a good road game, split this year. I think whether it's 7-1 or something, and but it's just so hard to go into New England in playoff time. It's so hard to play over there, and I just never ever count Brady and Belichick out in the playoffs. So I had no doubt in my mind they were going to win that game.
Well, that was the only thing you were sure of.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's the only thing. I thought it'd go under, and I thought that the Chargers would cover but lose. So that I got one thing right.
Well, it's one of those things where just the smallest, just one play can really change the dynamic of how a game goes. If you go back into that first series, they had them 3rd and goal, pass interference on the 1. If that pass interference didn't happen and they don't complete that, they kick a field goal. Sony Michel probably doesn't go for 2 or 3 more touchdowns, and that whole dynamic changes significantly if they're able to defend that 1 down. But when you're playing a team that good, it just switches the momentum of everything and just changes it just based off of that one play.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I've said over and over and over again about Belichick and those guys, and I hate him because, why not hate him? But the reason why he is a great coach is he capitalizes on other teams' mistakes. He's not afraid to change the game plan. And I think that 90% of coaches, maybe more than 90% of coaches in the NFL, don't know how to do that. I'm not saying I could do it, but they are paid to do it. And it's just shocking. You see these guys go out game after game after game, and maybe they're good game planners like Jim Harbaugh. I 100% believe he's a great game planner, but you can tell when the script flips on him and his game plan isn't working, he doesn't have the capacity to change it all up to face whatever the new issue is, and it just falls apart. And I think that's a huge problem in coaching. When you see a guy like Belichick who literally can throw the whole game plan out and switch gears play by play, is really what makes them that difference. And they don't lose the opportunities when given.
Well, it's not only that, but I think it's also just the ability to craft your game plan to your team and who you're playing, and not say, hey, I got hired in to utilize my system and I'm going to install my system and we're going to run my system. If the parts don't fit to run your system, then you can't run your system. You have to do something different. You have to take advantage of the strength that you have on your team. And that was part of the reason that I really thought that the Chargers had a shot in the game, is because the week previous, not only did they look like just a completely different team that's super motivated, playing awesome, but they were playing outside of what they normally did in a way that they could utilize strengths to counteract the Ravens. And so I thought that they'd be able to do that with, what's a limited New England offense. And by limited, I mean Gronk isn't the same guy that he used to be. He's barely running out there. Nobody's worried about him. You basically have Julian Edelman, Sony Michel, James White, and a couple other receivers that aren't primary. So how is it so hard to game plan that? I don't know. It obviously is, but it seems like it'd be easier than teams make it out to be.
Yeah, they have James White. They have 15 catches.
15. Unreal.
15 catches. That's
I know.
insane.
I played James White in all my DFS over Sony Michel, so when I saw the Sony Michel stats, I was like, oh, James White must have just totally bombed. And then I look at him like 15 catches. That pays for him just on the PPR points.
Right? No, that was awesome.
That was the key to the slate, right? Playing those two running backs together.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. No, and I'm looking forward to this next set of games. I mean, I'm getting excited, and I think that this Kansas City New England game for me is highly entertaining, and I still haven't quite picked a direction to go. Maybe by the end of the show we'll make some picks, but I don't know if I can. I still am just kind of throwing this back and forth right now.
Yeah, it's when you have all the top seeds in the finals, it's more difficult, which it should be. That means
Absolutely.
The system actually worked.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to get to our discussion on that. I don't know. Did you want to do that later in the show? You want to get right at it and move on? What do you want to do here?
No, let's do some other stuff first. We'll bring the NFL back up later. But really quick, how did everybody do in DFS this week? We discussed a lot last week on our DraftKings, NFL, and PGA. So how did everybody fare?
Well, not so well here. So let's just move on to Chris.
Yeah, so Saturday didn't work out so well. It was what it was. Golf was atrocious. I made some bad picks. Woodland didn't really do much. So I was 4 of 6 in both of them. Zach Johnson was the big guy that kind of let me down in both of my lineups. For some reason, he was the only guy that I had in both lineups, and he played awful. Sunday, I had no Sony Michel, but I broke even because I had a lot of James White, a lot of Julian Edelman, and a lot of Michael Thomas. And almost at the last minute, I was like, man, do I want 100% Michael Thomas in my lineups? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. I wish I had also listened to the other shoulders that you should put some Sony Michel in there. And maybe I would have had something going on. But some of those garbage time touchdowns, I played a lot of Antonio Gates. And, 2 thumbs up there.
How about you, Adam?
Yikes. As I shared with you guys pre-show, I had a massive profit of $4 and I think like 8 cents on the weekend in golf specifically. I think I invested $130 and won $134. So anytime you can profit, you can't complain. Had a lot of really good lineups, but Adam Scott absolutely killed me. Had a ton of James White and Michael Thomas over the weekend on the NFL slate. I think I won our league, our DK league, right? For the
yeah, I think you won by like 50. I don't think it was even close.
It wasn't. I wish I would have put that lineup somewhere else, but I focused most of my energy and efforts on PGA, and I think I won like $15-20 total on golf outside of the leagues that we did. But yeah, overall it was an enjoyable week. Anytime you profit anything in DFS, you got to be pretty happy overall.
Yeah, and it's I think I won $9.60 on PGA, and I think 5 of that was from our league.
Which I also won.
Which I should say that means I net lost about $15.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I won $4 in our PGA league, but I put in 5, so I lost $1 somehow. It was, yeah.
Wasn't it top 5 win and we ended up with 6?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So you had to finish, I think, 1 or 2 to actually make $1 or 2, but it was still fun. It was still entertaining to throw those picks in there and have fun with that. I like that a lot. So.
Hey, but it wasn't a full loss for you, Danger. I do owe you $5. Traquan Smith had 23 snaps to Ted Ginn's 40. They were both out-snapped by Kirkwood, who had 57 snaps. So both failed at hitting the second receiver, but I just don't understand what people see in Ted Ginn. That guy can't catch the ball. Everybody's like, if the I can't think of his name. I think it was LeBlanc had that interception, his day would have looked completely different. You're assuming Ted Ginn catches the ball. I've seen many times where the ball is in Ted Ginn's hands and he drops it. So
Breeze throws the ball 5 more yards. Now we're in a different discussion.
Again, he has to catch it. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I do, and for very good reasons. But there was a game a couple years ago when he was still in Carolina, and he had about 10 yards on the guy. Cam hit him in stride, and he just dropped the ball. There was nobody around him. It was a for sure touchdown. Cost me a lot of money. That's why I remember it. There's no guarantee.
I mean, we talked about this last week when we were arguing about either him or Smith, and Smith is probably the more talented guy, but they just love him in that offense, and I don't know why. I mean, they targeted him 7 times. He had the second most targets on the team, but he only pulled in 3 for 44, and he's supposed to be this deep threat, speed guy, which he's getting a little older now, so I respect that he's not as much, but he just can't catch the ball. So I think when you and I were talking off air about it, maybe Smith just can't run routes, so Breeze doesn't trust him. I mean, maybe that's the answer. But I just was going back, looking through it, and Ginn was kind of banged up a little bit when Smith got his opportunities. But when he's healthy and out there, they just love him. He just stays right there on the right side the whole time.
I mean, 40-23 is not. I mean, it's not that much of a difference, though. So I mean, it is still enough for you to pull the W, and you need to, send me your PayPal info, and I can square that up.
I have a feeling we'll just keep a running tab for some bets here, so it's fine.
All right, yeah, let's bet against the spread. I'll let you pick. I'll take the other way.
Nice. That's
harsh. Thanks.
You guys, you have to have a finite date of pay up, though, like every quarter or something.
Right? Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Every quarter, $1 million. One of the other.
As soon as it hits $1 million, we got to pay out.
Oh, yeah. That's how it works. All right. Well, you're listening to Draught For Upside. We're brought to you by I'mABeerHound.com. So, Danger, I heard you had a full week or weekend of a beer conference.
Well, I did, and y'all heard a little bit of it when I was in the hospitality room trying to put the show together with you guys. It was a lot of fun, man. I mean, the Brewers Guild put on a hell of a show. I mean, you know that, Mark. You've been there many years. It's really just one of the best trade shows and conferences out there. Michigan has somewhere just shy of 400 breweries and brew pubs, and I would say well over maybe 125 or so actually come to the conference in some representation or other or more. There was easily 500 people there total from breweries just there to learn and network and work together, and it's just awesome. We had a great keynote speaker who kind of brought a different perspective. He's from a farm. He's a water activist. a musician, and it just kind of really led the whole conference into kind of remember our roots, remember that craft beer grew from wanting to support local, wanting to shop local, wanting to not support out of state or out of country mega companies, and support your local people and support your local agriculture. And I think to a small degree, obviously the large end of the industry has moved away from that. They're now big business, and the much smaller end of the industry, I think a lot of people forget that, Mark. And I know that you travel around a lot of breweries and know a lot of the same people I know. And I just think that I think the younger generation, which feels weird saying that as I'm not even 40, just don't quite get the concept of how the craft beer got started. And I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, and how I feel about some of these new breweries opening up is, when I came into the industry about 7 years ago, it was everybody was helping me. So when I opened my first brewery, I opened in Warren, right next to Kunin's and Dragon Mead, which are two of the most well-known breweries in the state of Michigan. Kunin's actually came to my place and helped me set up the equipment.
Right.
It was all collaborative. They're like, hey, if you want to make this equipment work, you need to do this, this, and this, and this is how you get the best beer out of this. Come brew with us. We'll show you how it's all done. This new generation just, I don't know, they don't appreciate the craft from way back when. They don't appreciate the history, and they're just going through the motions. They think because they won a couple of home brew awards, they know more than these breweries that have been around for 10 years. And I've been to a lot of new breweries, and it's like, hey, I own a brewery. I've been through this. If you need any help, let me know. And I'm trying to be honestly helping them, and they're like, oh, no, we got it. Don't worry about it. And they get super competitive with you, and it's just like, yeah, this.
Yeah. No, it's a strange thing. It was a collaborative thing, and we're getting more crowded as it goes, and elbows are bumping where they never used to bump, and I get it, but there's still so much more to gain for us to work together. There really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it was a really good conference. I mean, they do crazy things like they have the trade show and have everybody there selling all kinds of equipment for beer, and selling hops and malts and making great networking relationships. And then they do things like they had a member of the Michigan Liquor Control Commission who came in and just did a question and answer with everybody, because not everybody has read the liquor code, because frankly, I've been doing this 18 years. I've been in craft beer and bar work, and I can't read that thing. And so it's really nice to have people there to just be able to answer questions in plain English, and that was probably my favorite part. And they had a member of the wholesalers organization, which represents the distributors, and the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, and then the president of our Brewers Guild, all basically sat in a room and just answered questions. That's some of the most valuable time I can ever spend learning about this industry.
Yeah, and I really miss those meetings. I always sat in on the MLCC ones, or they bring in a tax expert, or they always, the conference itself is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, and then the trade show is just gigantic now. I remember.
Oh yeah.
I remember 6-7 years ago, it was like there was like 10 people crammed in this little conference room, and that was the trade show. Now it's
in 2 full hockey rinks.
Yeah, it's insane, and we had one hop grower, and there's now 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. So one of the newest trends in beer I wanted to talk about, I saw an article today that Dogfish Head is putting out what they call Slightly Mighty is the name of the beer. And it is a full-flavored IPA that they have made using monk fruit extract, which is new and approved from the FDA, but brand new as an alternative sweetener. I guess it's going after like the stevia crowd, the sweetener that's not sugar, no calorie, that kind of thing. And so they have managed to make a full-flavored IPA at, I want to say 4.5, 4.5% alcohol, and they've managed to get it at 95 calories and 3.6 carbs. And the reviewer said it tasted like a standard American IPA, and it didn't taste like a diet or a session or a light beer. And I think that's freaking incredible, and I can't wait till it hits the public launch. I believe it's in April.
Yeah, and on the heels of that, I also saw a review for Lagunitas is doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, everybody's getting a little older in the industry, and I just can't drink these 10% alcohol bombs anymore. I just feel like crap, and frankly, I weighed in at New Year's heavier than I've ever been before. So I cannot wait for these low-cal IPAs to come out and figure out how good they are, and figure out if we can make one. Damn it!
Yeah, I know. I went and had a couple of hop slams the other day, and I woke up the next morning. It felt like I drank a fifth of bourbon or something. It's like I'm getting old. These high alcohol beers are affecting me way too much.
Right? They get into you. So I don't know. That was more beer segment than we've probably done in 2 years, buddy. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like it. We need to do more of that. we need to start like everybody. What we need to do is we all need to agree on a beer, and we need to each go and find it and drink it, and then we'll talk about it.
Or at least similar styles, seeing as somebody lives in Florida and isn't cool enough to live in Michigan.
Hey guys, I'm wearing shorts right now. I went out in shorts and a t-shirt earlier today. How about you guys? How's the weather up there?
Touche, sir. Touche.
I'll have to get dumped on Saturday.
In fact, I only have one pair of long. I only have one pair of long pants. It's one pair of jeans that I bought when I went up to Delaware, because around I can wear shorts. So hey, works out.
It works out. I like it. Yeah, man, we should do some more of that. We need to get our webpage is still in beta form, and I set it up, and Mark's been trying to tweak it here and there. But we do have the forums, and we do have the pages there, and I think we need to get Adam and Chris in there as editing power, and we should start sharing articles we find, like the one we just talked about, and start posting forums about what we're drinking, and maybe someday, just maybe someday, somebody will look at that webpage and join us. So, and that is draughtforupside.com, DRAUGHT, like draft beer for upside. So it's a great webpage to be, right? I don't know if it's a great webpage now, but it's a great webpage to be.
It's getting there.
Yeah, well, we'll make her happen one of these days. So, Adam, I know that you've been crazy busy at work and you haven't even been able to get out of the office yet today, but do you have some insight for us for the PGA match coming up this week, enough to chat with us for a little bit? And at the very least, do you want to go through some more monkey knife fight golf prop bets? Because I know the audience can't wait to hear more of that.
Oh, yeah. I always make time to at least listen to a couple podcasts, dig deep into some research, and figure out who I like. So yeah, let's do it.
Love it.
So Adam, I was doing some research on this course. So
these courses,
yes, that's what I was going to say. This is an interesting tournament. So first off, it's a pro-am. So there are amateurs mixed in. But they're not partnered up or anything, right? Everybody's still playing solo. It's just there's amateurs in there.
No, they'll have teams with one pro and one amateur.
Oh, really?
Some are celebrities. Some are like CEOs of different companies. Some are just guys that paid their whatever $10K to be a part of the pro-am. But yeah, they're gonna have the tournament, which is 4 rounds, which will be cut after 54 holes instead of 36. But the first 3 rounds, the pro-am pairing of a PGA pro and then whatever the amateur is paired with them will be awarded after Saturday's round for the 54 holes, and then Sunday they all play solo as just pros.
Okay.
So definitely they'll be out there with the hackers, man.
That'll be interesting.
That's for sure.
Now, and so my understanding is too. So they're playing 3 different courses. They play each course, and then the cut, and then they're going to go back and play the first course.
Yeah, all 3 days they'll have players on each of the 3 courses. So each pro-am team will play on all 3 different courses, and then they'll do the 54-hole cut, and then everybody will go back to the PGA West Nicklaus course for the final round. So they'll play 2 rounds on the Nicklaus course, the PGA West Stadium, and La Quinta they'll play once each. So
it's stadium. I think it's Stadium they're playing twice.
Yeah, sorry, PGA West Stadium. The West just screws me up. PGA West Stadium twice, then Nicklaus and La Quinta once each. So
yeah,
definitely changes things a bit with the Pro-Am though, because they're playing with a bunch of dudes who might be going back and forth across the fairways and not knowing where the ball's going. So it could be interesting.
Now, are any of the amateurs available for DFS or only the pros?
No, just the pros.
Okay.
Just the pros.
All right. And does this affect them? I mean, do they play down to the amateurs?
I don't think you'll see them playing down to the amateurs, but certain guys do have a little bit more of a tendency to get irritated by the amateurs taking their sweet ass time and playing army golf, left, right. So
Right.
I don't factor it in a ton, but there are certain guys who historically just play like shit in Pro-Am. So.
All right, so here's the deal. So last week, my Cameron bet just didn't work out.
No, it did not.
So this week, I'm going Charles Howell, Charles Schwartzel, and Charlie Hoffman.
I love Charles Howell.
I don't mind Hoffman this week though. He might be okay there.
Right. This is my PGA betting strategy. Please don't follow my advice, anyone.
Yeah, no, God, no, don't do that. Whatever you do.
Yeah, what was it? Tommy G back in the day in the midnight show. He used to, I can't remember who the golf expert was, but they used to have somebody come on with him and Dr. Roto back in the day in midnights. And Tommy G always used to ask the guy, okay, which Asian do I have to put in my lineup? Because I have to have one Asian in my lineup every week. And it was always ridiculous.
Tommy G.
Yeah, he weirdly got banned from Sirius Radio. That was a shocker that it took so long. Yeah.
Do you want to hear my token Asian to throw in your lineups this week?
Yes, please. I mean, that's what I'm really getting
I want
at
to see
here.
if it's the same as mine.
I'm going Sung J M this week.
Yep, I love him. I think he's going to be great this week.
I know. So he finished 16th last week, made a bunch of birdies, 20 birds and an eagle, I think, something like that last week. So 8,100, I think a lot of guys are going to be scared off at that price tag, but he's definitely a guy you can lock in. Coming off the Web.com tour last year, Web.com graduate, birdie maker, and I think he will be probably one of the higher owned Asians as well. So maybe we'll look for some value Asian guys.
Well, I mean, it's fitting in really well with my Charles, and Charlie bet, so it's good. We're good.
Charles, Charlie, and Sung Jae.
Mm-hmm.
That's fitting in.
Yep.
All right, fair enough. What else we got down there? Yeah. You guys want to open up with some monkey knife fight? You want to go with the few guys that I like, or how you want to?
Yeah.
I actually just started our Draft For Upside golf challenge, so that's what I've kind of been in here right now. So.
I've forgotten to play that for the last 2 weeks. So I'm probably
Well, I popped it in there. It was $3. There's 12 spots, so anybody's welcome to jump in on that. If Mark wants to share that to the chat room and whoever's phone's on vibrate could be turned down, that'd be awesome.
My bad.
Yeah, Adam, if you want to start out by giving us maybe your top picks for the week, and now my understanding is these courses are relatively short, better for iron players and a little more accuracy, but we're looking at -20 is going to win this thing. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. It's a wedge contest for sure. There's obviously there's always a benefit to being a bomber, but some of the guys that tend to compete here year after year are really good with their wedges, can make a ton of birdies. There's a couple guys up top that are pretty interesting. Charles Howell is one that you mentioned. That's one, Charlie, that might work out for you there, Danger. But he's got a good course history. He's finished top 20 the last 3 seasons in a row. I think he's a guy that I will be locking into my cash games, my 50-50s and head-to-heads, but I will be fading him in tournaments because I think he's going to be very high owned. There's a couple guys just above and just below him that I like much, much more as far as their upside this week. Because Howell's won once in the last 10 or 11 years, something like that. He just broke through finally last year. So like him for cash. He's safe, but don't love his upside as much as a couple guys near him. I'm actually fading the top. John Rahm is going to be coming in, despite his high price, pretty highly owned. He's the defending champ. He's the biggest name along with Justin Rose in the field. And then Justin Rose I'm fading because he just made an equipment change. If you guys know what business I'm in, it's the golf equipment business. And it takes some time to get used to new equipment, to get used to playing them in competition. So I'm fading him based on that this week. He's an incredible talent. I think he's going to be, by the end of the year, probably the number 1 or 2 ranked golfer in the world. But this particular week, first time in with new equipment, he went to a company called Hanma from TaylorMade, which most people haven't even heard of, Japanese company. And I don't like him to come out of the gate swinging with the new equipment. So fading the top 2 and going to my boy Patrick Cantlay, sandwiched right in between. He's a phenomenal iron player, can make a lot of birdies when he's on. Really, like his strength is the approach game, and that's what this course is. It's a second shot tournament with these 3 courses. So I'm going with Cantlay up top as my top guy, fading Rahm and Rose. I've heard some talk about Adam Hadwin this week. He's got a great tournament history here. Top 6 finishes in his last 3 events, but I'm actually fading him as well.
Patrick Cantlay, is that actually his last name or his college nickname?
His last name is actually Cantlay, and seems like that might be a fitting name. I don't know that for sure, but I don't know if he had any success with the ladies while he was at UCLA in college. But I love his game. He's annoying as hell to watch because he takes like 20 looks at the hole before he starts his swing. So you might like his scores. It's not going to be as fun to watch him. So in the top end, I'm going. I wouldn't say all in on Cantlay, but I'll be very heavy on him with my ownership on DraftKings. He's 10.6. Rahm's a full 1,000 higher at 11.6. And my next guy down, I'm going to Aaron Wise. I think a lot of people are going to be on Andrew Putnam after finishing second last week. He had a decent finish here last year, finished in 17th. I cannot bring myself to pay $9,700 freaking dollars for Andrew Putnam. Not to say he's not a good player. In the right field, I could see it, but everyone's going to be on him. I'm fading him as likely a high-owned play and going right down to Aaron Wise just below him and lock in the former Oregon Duck into my lineups there at 9,400. So those are kind of the 2 top-end guys I like the most in tourneys, along with Howell and Cash.
So I know you were just talking top end, but I'm trying to catch up here, reading while you talk, and I'm looking way down at the bottom just for funsies. What do you think of Jonathan Bird?
That was a heck of a sound.
Jonathan Bird hasn't done much on tour in the last, 5-6 years. Why do you bring him up?
Just reading some articles and people are talking about long shots.
Okay. I thought maybe you liked the last name Bird and you were going to go with some kind of bird like theme to your other team.
I don't know. Maybe next week, but it's the Charlie theme this week. So
there's a guy named Adam Schenk, and if you know what a shank is in golf, it's one of the worst shots you can hit. It basically goes completely lateral from where you're trying to aim, right off the hosel of an iron. It's a shot that still makes me shake and quiver in fear. So. While we're down there, Adam Schenk is a long shot I like a little better than that.
Man, I see Tony Sincata has joined us in the chat room, and he missed my awesome Cantlay joke. I'm so sad.
Oh man, yeah, your 12-year-old sense of humor was coming out for sure.
I know, it's amazing.
If we're going to the bottom, I'm not picky. I like top, I like bottom. I'll take whatever I can get. But Grayson Murray is a good guy down there at the bottom. He's had some off the course issues. He's got like social anxiety issues, and he said some very controversial things on Twitter, and people don't like him for that reason. I don't care. He makes birdies. He could be a good play this week. He finished 12th and 14th here the last 2 years. When he's on, makes a ton of birdies. Just know that there's a ton of risk. We got some sirens. Just know there's a ton of risk involved with him, but he's got the upside of top 10 without too much trouble if his game is on, which this time of year, if they haven't played in Hawaii, it's kind of a crapshoot, but he's a guy I'm willing to take a risk on.
I'm writing it down.
Yes, I'm making notes here.
Another cool name is Bronson Burgoon. He sucks, but he's got a cool name.
I like that.
Bronson Burgoon.
You, Tony said, I don't know if you know this, Tony from the old, God, what was the name of the show? I'm blanking. Roto Experts in the morning is also a stand-up comedian. So I tried to get him to call in and do dad jokes with us once. We'll see if we can get that in at some point.
Yep. All for the dad jokes.
All right.
All right. So we'll work our way back up. We did the top. We're working our way down to the bottom. We're working our way back up.
See, he said Charlie Hoffman. See, huh? Yeah.
Charlie, you loving the Charlie this week, eh?
I love the Charlie.
Charlie's your horse. You going
That's
with the
right.
Charlie horse?
That's good.
Jason Kokrak at 7,900 on DK is a guy that I like a lot. Guy bombs it. He's a birdie maker. I think he'll be fairly highly owned. We haven't seen him yet. And then Brandon Harkins, who played last week, didn't play great, but at least he got his feet wet. Figuring out his game for the year, he's at 6,900. Very nice. He's a guy that can make a ton of birdies as well. Working our way back up. Not
you
loving.
pass Kramer Hickok without talking about that.
Oh, Hickok. Kramer Hickok.
Hickok.
Yeah. Where'd he go? What?
I love it. 6,900.
Oh, wow.
Or just below him at 6,900, Seamus Power.
Yeah, Seamus, the Swede. So
Seamus
we've got a few guys in the mid-range that I like too. Chris Kirk burned me so hard last week. I can't click him again this week.
Tony
which
Cicado
is
saying that he likes Bud Cayley.
Cauley. Yeah, I like Bud too.
Yeah.
Bud's a guy who's he was kind of a young budding star on the PGA Tour the last few years. in that same age range as like your Justin Thomases, your Jordan Spieth, Emiliano Grillo, and those guys. So Cauley hasn't been getting the buzz this year yet, but he's a guy who he's got 3 straight top 15 finishes at this event, and he's definitely a guy who has a ton of upside down there at 7,400. So I do completely agree on that one. He's a guy I'll be locking in. One guy I'm fading in the mid-range is Brendan Steele. He's got good course history here, but every time he's played well over the last 4 years, which is 3 out of the last 4, top 20s, he's also come in after playing a Hawaii event in the first 2 events of the year. And 5 out of the last 6 winners played the week before or in the Tournament of Champions to open the year. So there's some correlation between success in this event and having played in those first 2 events in Hawaii. So Steele's coming in a little rusty. Oh my God, steel is a metal and it can rust. That's another play on words. Mm-hmm. And I think he could definitely be a guy who ends up having higher ownership than he should, probably around 15%. And I am fading him and going to Joaquin Niemann as my pivot right there at 7,600 on DraftKings as well. The young stud, Argentinian, great. Actually, no, he's Venezuelan. But he's got a great backstory, comes from a very working class family, rising star on tour. I like his upside a lot at 7,600, despite not playing here in the past because he's a newbie on tour. Russell Knox, not quite with the high cock, but close enough. Let's see.
Well, I've already entered my lineup, so I'm good here.
Wow. You're all locked and loaded.
I got every Charlie on the slate.
Kind of a couple guys that are a little bit more up towards the high end, kind of your mid to high price plays in like the 8 to 9 range. I like JJ Spawn a lot. He hasn't had great history here in the past, but he's a guy who can definitely make some birdies. And early, if you've paid attention to the early articles, the fall swing as well as the early season events this year, he's a guy I like to have a pretty big year, and this is definitely an opportunity for it to start here. I like Spawn a lot at 8,500. Brian Harmon's a guy I'm hearing some buzz about, but I'm fading him at 8,800. Just hasn't shown the form despite good course history here in the past. Don't mind Bo Hostler at 8K, but Sung Jae Im at 8,100 is going to be the Asian I'm locking in. And then Luke List. He's definitely not listless. He's a very good competitor, makes a ton of birdies, great ball striker. If he can putt, that's the one thing. And that burned me last week because Adam Scott sucked at putting last week, like he always does. But I'm a sucker for Adams. Luke List at 9K is one of my favorite players. in that range. I think he's got the upside to win. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him top 5 by the end of the week.
What do you think of Kizzary again this week?
Patton Kizzire, I don't mind him.
Yeah.
There's a stat that I've been looking at a little more closely here the last few weeks called opportunities gained. So it really is a great metric to measure how many birdie opportunities or eagle opportunities players are giving themselves. And he's top 30 in this field in opportunities gained on the week coming in. So I don't mind Patton Kizzire. I think he's going to be high owned because he had a pretty solid couple first events in Hawaii. So I will probably be laying off him at 8,700 on DraftKings. I don't know. I just don't see the role continuing, and I think it's going to be a little higher owned than I would like. I'd rather pivot to a guy like Lucas Glover, who's got a lot of good course history here. Just earned his way back on the tour through the web.com. Man, he had a weird story last year. Glover got his ass kicked by his wife or something, and it was just a weird situation. I hope he's gotten past that. But despite all that last summer,
wasn't like a 9-iron to the back of the head or anything, right?
Nah, it wasn't quite Tiger style, but yeah, Lucas Glover is a guy that I like. Great ball striker. Again, another guy just like Luke List. If he can get his putter going, he'll be in good shape. But yeah, Glover's a guy that I would actually pivot to from Patton Kizzire because he's just not. He hasn't played the first 2 events, but his ball striking's always there. So I like betting on guys like that to have a solid week putting. And I'm fading the hell out of Phil Mickelson just to finish that off.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus in the industry. I read a few articles, watched a few videos, and everybody's off of Mickelson this week.
Yeah, I think he's going to be probably 12 to 15% owned, and that's just way too high for my taste for a guy who's almost 50 years old and on the back end of his career.
Now, as I said before, my favorite in the 10K and above range is Charles Howell III. But Justin Rose is getting a lot of buzz. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, as we discussed before, I love Justin Rose's long-term prospects. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him win the Masters here in a few months to finally get off the schneid there. But I just can't with him. He just completely changed his bag. His equipment's completely different than it was towards the end of last year when he was playing so well and won the FedEx Cup.
Yeah, that's what I heard. He's got all new irons, and this is his first tournament out with them.
Hanma. Yeah, it usually takes some adjusting. A player as good as him, I mean, he might be able to do it quicker than others, but I can't confidently. If I'm going to play Justin Rose, he's probably going to be around 15, 20% owned. For a guy like that, I don't want to be, level with the field as far as ownership percentage. I would want to play him at like 40% of my lineups. And I just don't feel confident enough doing that to lock him in with the new equipment. So I just think it takes a little while to get used to it. He's not going to be dialed in. And for him to pay off at 11K, I mean, he's got to finish top 5 in DK scoring to even have a chance at paying off for you. So that's a guy I'm fading, but with some apprehension because he's such a world-class player.
All right.
Going on a Cantlay from him right at 10-6.
Danger, do we have any more comments in the chat room?
Just Tony has decided to join us, and he loves all of my Charles picks. I think he's just humoring me, but I'm enjoying the backup here.
So he says, I'm intrigued with the Schwartzel price.
That's right, Charles Schwartzel.
Oh, is that Charles? That's another Charles?
No, just Charles. There's no ES.
The thing I don't like with
Close enough.
Charles, the South African, he's his long-term ball striking stats, if you look, he relies very much when he has good weeks on his short game and his putting. At a course like this, if he's not going to be hitting it close on his approaches and up there in that strokes gained approach or the opportunities gained stat, it's just not a guy I can get on board with. I don't mean to burst your Charles bubble, but I just
I'm going to play it anyways.
Right. I know. Yeah.
I don't know if you looked at my lineup from last week in our contest, but I sure as hell did play all 3 Camerons.
I did not advise that, just for the record.
Yeah, anybody listening to this on demand for any reason, please don't listen to Danger's picks.
Not on golf, anyway.
Not on much of anything, to be honest. I'm the comedy relief here. This is becoming very widely just accepted.
Listen to his beer knowledge.
Nah, I'm good here, man. Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts, Adam, before we jump into the monkey knife fight?
Monkey knife fight. I still gotta get on that.
What?
One last.
Come to
last guy that I
the
like
future of DFS.
One last guy that I like at 8,300 had a good showing last week on a course that really didn't fit him all that well. I think this course, this event at these three courses fits him much better. He got his first win at this very event 2 years ago. His Hudson Swafford really showed some good form last week. Those opportunities gained stats we were talking about, he really showed well last week on. I think he's going to continue to ride that form and probably finish, top 10 to 15 in DraftKings points. So he's a guy I'm locking in at 8,300 as well.
Right.
Buddy Swaff.
All right, so for this monkey knife fight, what I've been enjoying is these ones that are, long odds, but 4 out of 5. I like these because you can get one wrong and you're still in the right. So the first one I had up and going is a 4 out of 5. It's a 3.13 times your buy-in. So if you get 4 out of 5 right, you get 3 times your money. The first one up here, more birdies or better, Justin Rose or Jon Rahm, and they're giving Jon Rahm plus 1.5.
They're giving Jon Rahm plus 1.5?
Yes.
Lock me in with the Johnny Rahm. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Next one down. Less total strokes. Zach Johnson versus Daniel Berger, and they're adding a half a stroke onto Zach Johnson.
Daniel Berger has just shown no form over the last year plus. I don't love Zach Johnson this week, but if it's a wedge fest, he's a pretty good wedge player. I'll go with ZJ.
All right, next one down here. You know where I'm going. My boy Charles Howell versus Abraham Answer. More pars or better, and they're giving Abraham an extra half.
Gotta go with CH3 on that one with his course history.
Like it. All right, now we got Aaron Wise versus Phil Mickelson. More birdies are better, and they are giving Mickelson a half a birdie advantage.
Yeah, give me Aaron Wise. I would take him with giving 4.5 birdies for Christ's sake.
Right.
Wait, is this in round one only or the whole event?
First round.
This is round one only.
Yeah, first
round.
round.
All right, it's round one only then.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming all these players are playing the same course, correct?
It doesn't say,
it
but
does say.
It makes sense probably.
All right,
But
I'm going to pull it
who
up
knows?
real quick just to see if we can gain any edge on any of these. But
Right?
still,
And
give
then
me Aaron Wise.
the next one down, Andrew Putnam versus Kramer Highcock. More pars or better, and they're giving Highcock a half a point advantage.
I mean, I don't love Putnam this week, but I'll take him over Highcock.
I like it. All right, I've locked in my first game. Anybody else want to select one?
Chris, you want to go for it?
I'm off the monkey knife fights for a little bit here, guys. I ran bad. I had a couple of, you needed the 5 for 5s. I had literally three in a row, and I went 4 for 5. It was rough. I put my whole bankroll. So I gotta wait till I deposit because I would have $10 more if somebody else used my code, but
I don't know who that was, but that person's a dick.
Did you get my $10?
I did.
Good.
I was close. I mean, it was like I put $10. It was like a 15x payout, and I was cruising right along, and I think I missed by like a rebound or something silly. Something silly like that. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Mark, you got one, or you want me to pick another one?
Go ahead, because I'm going to paste the link to your last one in the chat room here.
All right, sounds great. So let's do this 5 for 5. What do you think, Adam? You think we're that lucky?
Sure.
All right, this is a 13 times payout here. 5 for 5. First round only. More par or better. Justin Rose versus Jon Rahm. They're giving Jon Rahm a 1.5.
Giving him a 1.5 on more pars or better. Yeah, I'm going to go with Johnny Rahm again, man.
Johnny Rahm.
Which one is this again, Danger?
This is the rapid fire 5x5, 13 times payout.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the big boy.
All the way at the back, the big boy. More birdies or better. Aaron Wise versus Zach Johnson, giving ZJ a half a point.
Aaron Wise.
Yeah.
That's the Wise pick.
Less total strokes. Daniel Berger versus Abraham Answer. They're penalizing Berger by half a stroke.
Yeah, give me AA all day.
AA all day. Less total strokes. Charles Howell versus Joaquin Neiman.
Ooh, Neiman getting half a stroke?
Charles is being given half a stroke.
Really? All right, yeah,
which is penalizing Charles, right? They're adding a half a stroke into the less total strokes.
I gotcha. I would still take Charles Howell in that one, yeah.
All right. And the final one, Andrew Putnam versus Kramer Highcock. More par or better. They're giving Kramer a half a point.
Putnam.
All right, I locked
Andrews.
it in. I'm putting
Putnam.
$5 on that. That's going to pay me out right there, 65 bones, and then I'm going to buy you a beer.
I will accept your beer
That's how
offer.
that's going to work. All right, submit. All right, should we go down to some of the ones with a little less craziness?
I'm all about the craziness, but
All right.
whatever you want to do.
I got room for one more on my slate, so that's all I can pay for this week.
Why don't
But
we
I
do
can-
the Eagle Eye?
Eagle Eye. All right. So, if you have not played Monkey Knife Fight, this is basically just prop bets. It's crazy, and we have fun, right?
It is. It's awesome.
So the point of this is you have to select 3 players from the first round, and you could select your bet. So you pick any 3 players, and you have to choose whether they will select eagle or better, right? So they got to get an eagle or better, and you select the 3 players you want, and then you can choose which bet you want, whether they'll get 2.5 or more, 3.5 or more, or 4.5 or more. And the bet that you put up gets 2 times for the 2.5, 3 times for the 3.5, and 5 times for the 4.5. So if you got a few players in here you just think are going to nail an eagle or 2, you got to add them up here and then make your confidence bet, basically. So
This sounds
that
ridiculous.
information, Adam. Which 3 of these guys do you like for a possibility for eagling out? Or is that just too much to ask on the week?
Am I just choosing any random 3?
Yep. Any 3 players you think are going to get Eagles?
Yep.
Luke List, for sure.
All right, I'm going to have to search because there's so many players playing. So, all right, got Luke List locked in.
Okay. This is a really, really weird bet. All right.
That's why I like it.
List. Yeah, I told you I was up for the craziness. I guess I wasn't ready for it, though.
Yeah.
Justin
Let's
Rose?
go with Si Woo Kim.
All right. See if I can find him. Si Woo Kim. All right, selected.
Wait, I can't find it.
Selected. Got to go with the bomber on the last one. Let's see who we got here. Yeah, Johnny Rahm. Johnny Rahm. He's a very safe bet for an Eagle.
Johnny Rahm. All right, so now here's the money-making choice. Do you want to put a bet on those 3 to combine for 2.5 or better, 3.5 or better, or 4.5 better, Eagles or better? You said it was kind of a short course, so I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, there's 3 of them. There's 4 par 5s on each of the courses. So that gives them each at least, even if, let's say, 2 of them miss the cut, that still gives them at least 12 opportunities on those par 5s to hit them in 2. And they're all pretty reachable by those studly fellows that we just mentioned. So go with...
This is round 1 only.
So what is it? What's the payout difference between 2.5, 3.5, 4.5?
You do remember this is round 1 only. This isn't the whole weekend.
Round 1 only. Dear
Round 1
Lord.
only. You know, play it safe, or you feeling
Can't be
gutsy?
confident more than 2.5.
All
No,
right.
I'm not feeling that saucy. That's crazy.
All right. Well, I'll do 2.5 then. We'll let it ride. So, all right. That's probably enough prop bets for the week.
I think it's more than enough.
2.5. Huh? Should I go $5 on this one?
Oh, I'm doing 5. Oh yeah. I don't get out of bed for $2.
Do I have?
I'm a high roller around here.
Oh, apparently I won yesterday in hockey. I have like 50 extra bucks in here.
Hey, I like when that happens.
Nice.
Yeah.
My surprise is usually go the other direction. I'm like, oh, what happened to all my money?
So, Mark, how's this hockey been going for you? You were starting out real hot. Has it cooled off? Have you steadied off? Are you still winning? What's the deal, man?
Yeah, it's cooled off a little bit. It's like the other day, man. Yesterday or 2 nights ago was the highest scoring night in the NHL in like 2 years, and of course, I picked all the wrong lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all the right games, but I had like Boston's first line, but Boston's second line put up 4 goals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, so it's it's cooled off a little bit, but it's.
I don't
going
play
all
any
right.
sports. I can't pronounce the names, so I'm not playing.
Yeah, it's just difficult. Hockey is so fickle, I guess. You just never know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big thing is the goalies, and it's a lot easier on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings, and it's been tough.
Well, you started out real hot and you quit texting me about it, so I figured that there had been a downturn, perhaps.
It's just been up and down. It's like one night I'm up $35, the next night I'm down 40. You know, it's like I'm still positive for the season, but and I still can't hit a GPP to save my life. I'm doing great in cash, but I cannot hit a GPP in NHL. I can't get anywhere near it.
You really just started collecting your own data and doing your own, numbers on that. So give us some time. You'll see some patterns. You'll see some stuff come up. I mean, I got faith in you, man.
I'm hoping.
You got this, brother.
I slapped in a Boston Calgary stack tonight, so we'll see.
Nice. Well, just so our friends that are listening that don't come in live, we are on the Legend Sport Network, which is currently on LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. They have shows pretty much 24/7. If there's not something live, they're usually playing a replay of something. You can get in there. There's a live chat room that has plenty of people in there pretty much 24/7. A lot of bullshitting about baseball, which is awesome, which I have just started my research for baseball. So starting next week, we'll talk a little bit more baseball. And that'll be a lot of fun. The daily shows, man, I don't know how people do this daily and have another career. I don't know if they do. I assume that they do. I mean, Lenny just talks all the time, and it's just whether the mic's on or not, right? So that's fine. But one day a week's tough for me to get to. So I have a lot of respect for these guys. But Lenny's on every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. with his daily podcast, all things baseball. You got JJ Sports Talk also doing it daily, every day, 2 o'clock. He's been great to listen to. And all kinds of crazy other things going on out there. You got to check it out. Specifically Wednesdays, you got After Us. You've got Mets 360 with Brian Jora. You've got a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with Easy and Alan. And I believe we still have Lou and Andrea after that, although it appears to be off the schedule at the moment. So maybe that got changed. Who knows? But there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, we even added Doug Boyle, who joined us last week as our first and only Saturday show, which hopefully will fill out as this thing gets up and running and going. What a great opportunity he's given all of us, and we'll ever be thankful for Lenny and his people and Andrea and all that they're doing, and Lou Landers and everyone else. So check it out if you haven't checked it out. And as we have said before, we are sponsored by I'mABeerHound.com, premier Michigan beer and entertainment site. So go check that out as well. So let's get back to football, huh? I'm ready.
You ready for football?
Ready. I'm ready for football.
All right. We have the NFC Conference Championships coming up. And it's all top seeds. The first seeds, the second seeds, it is as the system works. Everybody that is supposed to be there is there. And I think it's a tough pick this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, these are the matchups that outside of maybe New England, about a month before the playoffs started, maybe 6 weeks before the playoffs started. These are kind of the three teams: the Rams, the Saints, the Chiefs, that I really thought were going to be here. They were so dominant, and they all had some hiccups those last few weeks. I mean, the Rams looked pretty awful for a little span there, but it looks like C.J. Anderson has revitalized them. How weird is that?
That is so messed up.
I think him and Gurley both were over 100 yards last week.
Yeah, and Gurley had 1 touchdown. CJ had 2.
Yeah.
And the Rams all of a sudden are a running team. They didn't throw the ball at all.
Seriously, didn't it look like that Gurley was spelling Anderson?
Yeah, exactly. It did.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Which actually tells me that his knee is still tender.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to a friend at the bar today about this and saying, oh, they should keep Anderson around. Well, I don't know. Anderson's probably going to get a nice, last contract for his career out of this play. He probably won't be back with the team. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just a matter of Gurley still a little dinged up, and C.J. Anderson's been a complete boss. So why not just keep sharing the ball?
So is his success the offensive line? Is it the scheme? I mean, because he was in Carolina this year, didn't do anything. Denver let him go without even thinking about it.
I know. I'm sure Chris has got some nice thoughts on that.
Well, no, I think he was good in Denver. They just never gave him the full sign-off. He wasn't John Elway's guy. He seemed to have some type of vendetta against him, and he liked guys like Booker a little bit more. And so, I mean, he had a hard time staying healthy too. But if you look at when he was healthy in Denver, he was productive, especially if he got the amount of touches that need to be. I mean, you're not going to find a lot of running backs that can go in and take 7 to 10 touches and be productive off of that on a continual basis. He's been able to do so a lot here, though, because of the offensive line and how much better it was. I mean, if you look at Jared Goff's splits, Goff is a different quarterback when he's pressured. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when he's pressured. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he has no pressure because he takes a long time to release the ball. And he's been a good quarterback this year because he hasn't been pressured. That offensive line has been fantastic. They were dominating that Dallas offensive front. And then when it really comes to CJ in Carolina, he really didn't get a fair go at it. I don't think that he got more than a couple touches per game, if that, in some of the situations. And they were just pretty content with riding McCaffrey all the way. So
I was going to say that McCaffrey really has turned into their every down guy, and they didn't need that bruiser because that's just not the way that Carolina is schemed.
Yeah, and it's like I said last week, this was one of the concerns that you had when you're thinking about putting Gurley in your lineup. Was he going to lose some touches to C.J. Anderson? And he lost a whole lot more than some touches.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when was the last time he didn't have over 20 touches when he was healthy? So, I mean, that says a lot.
But, I mean, realistically, he still looked great when he got the ball. He just didn't get the ball all the time at the, in the short yardage situations, especially on the goal line. And those can be some of the, most stressful impacts. And so I think they are trying to keep him fresh. I don't think he's necessarily hurt or banged up or tender, but they just don't want to get into a situation where he's going to be, especially for the games where he's going to be more needed. I don't think that they felt they needed him as much against a Dallas as they are going to need him in these next 2 weeks. If they get past the Saints, they're going to need him for the Saints and beyond. So keep him fresh, keep the defensive coordinators kind of on their toes in terms of what's going to happen. So it still kind of makes it difficult to play him. But, I think C.J. Anderson's been good for a long time. He just hasn't had his time to shine. But
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, after he had that really nice year in Denver, I kept him as a keeper in a 3-keeper league. I just thought that the guy showed so much, and then he just fell out of favor with that staff or something. It just absolutely crushed his career.
That Super Bowl run Denver had, he was phenomenal in that Super Bowl run. He was going over 100 yards every week.
Heck yeah. No, I kept him after that year. It was awesome. And then he just kind of never touched the ball again. It was strange. But the Rams are just a totally different team. They ran the ball just shy of 50 times. That's crazy.
Yep, I was laughing my ass off. I saw C.J. Anderson tweeted on Twitter. He just tweeted out after the game, "I'm just a fat kid running."
I didn't see that. awesome.
Bowling ball out there.
That's awesome. And and I hadn't thought this. I really thought the Saints were going to kind of cruise to a Super Bowl this year, but I don't know. This new LA team with the ability to just absolutely gut them up the middle, and obviously they already kind of suck on the outside. If they have to spend extra time worrying about Anderson and Gurley, are they going to be even worse on the outside? Is Goff going to actually just be able to pick them off?
I don't think so. I think that the strength of this New Orleans defense is going to be its run-stopping ability. I don't think they've allowed maybe but one or if any 100-yard rushers. Looked fantastic again last week. I think they're going to have a hard time rushing the ball against the Saints, and so they're going to have to utilize their wide receiver core. Now, when they played previously, I thought the Rams looked like a better team. I think there was some hesitant play calling, and a couple things kind of went the Saints' way. But as we pointed out, that was with Cooper Kupp. I think Sean Payton's smart enough to go right back at Marcus Peters, like he said he did last matchup. And like I was drunkenly tweeting you guys or texting you guys during the game, it was just astounding how they kept running Michael Gallup over to Marcus Peters, and he continually picked him apart. But you could have put Cooper over there. I love Gallup, and I think he did a great job, but Cooper is the better of the two wide receivers, and he could have taken even more advantage of that matchup. It's crazy to me when the corners, Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, were going to stay to their side. So why not put your best wide receiver run the plays where he's going to be on the left side to the right of the defense and get the coverage with Marcus Peters? He's been trashed for a couple years now. Attack him all day long.
It's going to be an interesting game. I really I think both of these games are going to be absolutely phenomenal. I just can't wait for them. It's going to be great. Other side of that ball, New Orleans, they really struggled the first half of that game, and then kind of came out and got their rhythm back and finished off strong. But yeah, like you said, if they are able to contain Gurley and Anderson to a reasonable number, even if they can hold them combined to like 120 yards, I think they've got the upper hand to win this game.
Yeah, and I think, the game last week of New Orleans, it comes back to what you were talking about coaching when we first started the show, is Sean Payton came out and went, okay, let's just take it to him right away. He tried the big bomb again. He got intercepted. And then the next series out, they just tried bomb after bomb against him. And they were all of a sudden down 14-0, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he immediately changed the entire style of the game, and they came right back, took the lead, and dominated. I mean, Philadelphia didn't pass 14 points after the first quarter.
Yep. Yeah, they really decided to slow the game down and play ball control instead, and it worked.
Right, and that's a sign of a great coach. He was able to, on the fly, adjust what he was planning to do, and he took control of the game, and I think he can do the same thing here. I mean, Sean McVay is a great young coach, but Sean Payton's been around forever and is going to be able to outcoach him, in my mind.
I think so, and they're in the Superdome, and that never hurts. That's a great place for them to play. Obviously, they have had just an absolute history of being more dominant at home.
Just a few stats in this game, really quick. Right now, Saints are favored by 3.5, and we have a over/under of 56.5. So, expecting a high-scoring game here.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think last week the thought process was probably the Eagles secondary is terrible. One of the things that bothered me the last 2 weeks listening to broadcasts is just how much the analysts were talking up Maddox and the other guy and how well they've been playing. No, that's not true. They've been playing absolutely awful. And that's nothing against them. They're like the third or fourth string guys in that decimated secondary. But it boggles my mind how some of these guys have jobs and how we allow them to have jobs talking about these things when they really just don't have any idea what they're talking about. Talking about how Rob Gronkowski, you got to have a guy on him and you got a game plan for him. No, that's not been the case for like 2 years. This Eagles secondary is terrible. The whole Stephen A. Smith debacle earlier in the year where he didn't know who was playing. Like, how did these guys have the jobs in the national media. I'm not saying that, I'm any better than these guys in terms of the announcing and things like that, but I'm sure that there are more talented people that could more educate the fan base and be entertaining at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're stuck with Jason Witten and Booger McFarland. Booger McFarland tweeted out some negative comments about C.J. Anderson looking fat or something like that. Like, dude, the guy just ran all over Dallas, and you're gonna say that he needs to lose some weight or something? No, come on, man. That doesn't even make sense. But
he's basically single-handed the reason why the Rams are still in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's like he did look fat. Well, he might have needed to lose some weight. Hey, I'm not disputing that, but you probably don't tweet that right after he just ran over, the whole Cowboys team. Maybe you do that like after he doesn't do that, obviously.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think that this game, Sean Payton is going to game plan for it. I think we're going to see a lot of Michael Thomas and Marcus Peters and Michael Thomas in the slot. And I think a lot of those passes are going to go over to the right side of the defense, and they're just going to pick on him. And at the same point, the Rams have been really, really bad at stopping the run. They did really well last week, but in 7 of the 9 previous games, they had given up over 100 yards. It was one of those situations where I felt like on the road, Ezekiel Elliott was a bad play, especially at his price, given some of the other guys that were available, even on the 2-game slate. But I still tried to get some exposure to him just based on what the Rams have been giving up. And it didn't work out. I was right. He was a bad play. But I think Kamara and Ingram are going to be able to move the ball on him. Kamara doesn't look as good as he did last year or as good as he did earlier in the season. But he's still going to be good enough to carve up that team. I really just see the Saints coming out here. They're going to make up for last year. Yeah, I think they feel robbed, and justifiably so. I see the Rams winning by, I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they pull away at the end and they win by like 7-10.
The Saints?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate my messages from this weekend that Michael Thomas is a freaking beast.
Oh, yeah. Now, we talked about it a
he
little
took
bit on the
that
show.
game over.
Absolutely. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the either last show or the show before, these guys and where they're going to go next year. And Thomas is not going to be picked number 1 wide receiver. He's just not. It's not going to happen. It's probably going to be, Beckham's going to come in again for no apparent reason, and Antonio Brown, and Hopkins obviously probably deserves it. But I think Thomas might be the best receiver in the league.
I couldn't believe anything breezed through anywhere near him. The guy was just snagging. It didn't matter where it was, how bad of a throw. His route running is phenomenal. The way he can position himself and block the defenders out. The way he was adjusting to the ball. He is by far the best receiver this year.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed watching him play. So let's put our picks down here. I'm going to say New Orleans by 3, and I'm going to take the under on the 56.5. Chris, you said New Orleans by 7 or 10, but I'm going to make you pick one.
I'm going to go New Orleans by 8 and the under.
Mark?
I'm going to go New Orleans. I'm going to take New Orleans by 10. And I'm going to take the over.
Adam?
You guys are pronouncing it all wrong. It's Nolans.
Nolans.
Nolans is going to win by 4. And I like the under. I do think that the Rams are going to try and keep the Saints offense off the field, try and run that Gurley, C.J. Anderson 1-2 combo to try and play ball control. So because of that, I think they'll have some success with it and keep the Saints off the field. So I like under 56.5 and Saints by 4.
I dig it. So I am alone again, going against the spread.
The contrarian.
It is just fine by me. And you can't make the spread every time. So.
Did you want to buy a half a point and join us?
Was that?
Do you want to buy a half point and join us?
Buy a half point. Give me your $5 back. You'll give me that half point. Yeah. So the other game here, New England versus Kansas City, it actually has a lower over-under at 54.5, but I actually think this game's going to be higher scoring than the other game.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at right now is currently in Vegas, it's Chiefs by 3. Money line's 160 in favor of the Chiefs, and a 55.5 is the over-under. And I don't know. This is going to be a tough one for me. I like the Chiefs overall, I think. But, man, I couldn't believe what the Patriots did to the Chargers.
Adam, what are your thoughts here, bud?
Definitely like the over with you, man. That game between these two teams back in October at Gillette was just one of the most entertaining games, back and forth. Patrick Mahomes just showing off his arm. I like the Chiefs and the over, and Patrick Mahomes is my favorite player in the league to watch. He's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I really curious about him. Sophomore slump. I just can't wait to see what he pulls off next year, whether he succumbs to that or whether he just keeps on firing.
Oh, he's the real deal. He's going to keep on rolling.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
Maybe
that roll to the right and pass across the hill.
I was going to say, that was incredible.
That was insane.
He's so accurate on those throws. It's like you don't even – it just doesn't make sense to watch it. You're like, how did he do that? Like Stafford has his sidearm shit, and I'm so dumb with
You mean the one that bounces 5 feet in front of the other receiver?
Yeah.
Well, I am going to say one thing about Stafford really quick, though, is remember years ago when he first came on and he did all the sidearm and moving his arm, and remember how Jaworski got all over him, and it was a big controversy, and he was a shitty quarterback because he was doing sidearm stuff, and now we celebrate quarterbacks with sidearms. So
they complete passes, man.
Yeah, I'm not a Stafford slappy by any means, but I didn't care if he threw it sidearm 6 years ago.
Hey, did you guys know that Patrick Mahomes played baseball? And the other thing is Stafford, he went to high school. He's good friends with Clayton Kershaw.
Oh my God, I'm so sick of that.
Broadcast or something like that once or twice.
Oh my God, every single broadcast.
I've never heard either one of those things. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nicole played basketball, and so did Alshon Jeffrey, and so they do that. Philip Lindsay, I don't know if you know this, but he was undrafted. He was a local kid out of Denver. Adam Thielen. So.
Oh, you're killing me. Speaking about broadcaster, did you all see that the Tigers have finally called out their broadcasters?
Oh, Matt Shepard. I puked when I saw that.
Yeah,
really?
It could be worse. It could be worse.
Shepard's going to be the main guy?
Shepard will be the main guy, and they'll be rotating in with Jack Morris and Kirk Gibson. I think they...
oh, my God. Gibson is so bad.
I think the only thing worse they could have done was given it to Craig Monroe.
Nah, Booger McFarland.
Oh, Booger.
Anyways, Chris, you've been awfully silent on this KC New England game. It's your turn to shine, my friend.
Yeah, so, I mean, the KC defense is significantly better at home. Having given up 30 points in, I think, 17 games or something like that. That being said, I still think that New England's going to come in and put up some points, probably somewhere around their implied total of 30 or 28. I think Kansas City takes this game. I think they end up somewhere around 34, 35. So I'll take the over, and I'll take Kansas City.
Now, are we going to see a Patriots Tom Brady throwing everywhere? Or are we going to see another Sony Michel 3-touchdown game?
Well, I don't have faith in Sony Michel pulling off that kind of game again, and Andy Reid's too smart for that. So I think it's going to have to be a balanced attack to take on Kansas City.
Well, when they played earlier this year, Sony Michel ran 26 times for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think just the history of what Bill Belichick likes to do and kind of switch it up. I think this is going to be a James White week. He likes to zig when people think he's going to zag, and so I just that's how I see it. And I think Michel could come out and run, but the thing is, for him to continually do that, they're going to have to stop that Kansas City offense, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to do that. Right now, the public looks like they like the under on this at a 53 to 47% clip. I think people are scared off by the weather, but I ran some weather trends, and really cold weather doesn't really change a whole lot for teams in scoring. Wind does, but there's not supposed to be any sustained winds above 10 miles an hour. So I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think Kansas City pulls it out. Yeah, that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't know. We had this talk earlier. I think that Belichick is this coach that is extremely difficult to lose back-to-back games. He's seen the team. He's ready for them. He's singular focused on this game to move on. I don't know. He doesn't lose very often when he sees a team the second time.
But
I have a
he
hard
doesn't-
time rooting
He
against
doesn't win in AFC Championship games on the road either.
him. Right. This is also true. So this is where my hang-up is. If this was in New England, I'd pick New England by a landslide. I'd pick them by 3 touchdowns. Okay, maybe not 3 touchdowns, but I'd pick them by 10 points or more. But because they're on the road, because Kansas City's better at home, I'm going to give it a closer thing. But I still think New England pulls this game out. His history in second time seeing teams is just too good. It's too good. I can't ignore it. And I think this is their last hurrah. I think if they pull off something crazy like signing Antonio Brown next year, they could maybe pull it off one more year. But I just can't pick against them. I can't do it. So I'm going to go New England. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to pick New England by a field goal.
To play devil's advocate a little bit there on your danger, the second time he's seeing teams in a given year is usually the Jets, the Dolphins. Who's the third team in that division? So just stay on the competition level, and the Bills, that's even better.
Sure.
So the competition level isn't quite Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid at Arrowhead. So I think it's Reid's year to finally break through and get the can't win the big one label off of him. And I think he gets it done and takes down the master.
I think that's a good pickup on that stat. I mean, we talked about last week how the Colts defense was overrated because of who they played. I think that record right there, Danger, is a little bit overrated because of who they played.
Yeah, it could be. But, ask Peyton Manning how that went for him.
Ask him how it went when they were on the road. I think he beat them 2 times, actually, in the AFC Championship on the
Might
road.
be true. It might be true. I'm still got to go the other way. You know what I got to do, Chris. You know what I got to do, and I got to go the other way.
Don't let the facts get in the way there, Danger.
Mark, are you taking KC over under? What do you got?
I am taking KC. 55 is a big number. I will take the over. I will take KC by 4.
Adam, KC by how many?
73. No, I think KC by a field goal and definitely the over in this guy.
Chris?
I'm taking KC by 6 and the over.
I like it. All right, me against the world. I'm too deep now. I can't go back. I have to keep picking contrarian, or I'll never catch up.
I don't think mathematically you can you? Not the spread picks anymore. There's only 3 games left, bro.
Well, what about the Pro Bowl? Can I pick the Pro Bowl?
Take the over.
I'm sure FanDuel will have a tournament for the Pro Bowl.
Hey, one quick thing to add, just going back to that last game, Peyton Manning is 3-0 against Tom Brady in AFC Championship games not played in Gillette. So let's go ahead and let's ask him.
I'm grasping at straws here, people. You can't pick it with them if you're behind. You can't catch up if you go with the person you're behind on. It just doesn't work that way. You gotta go the other way.
You can get further behind, though.
No, that's true. I'm already in last. There's no way to get further behind than that.
All right, really quick though. How about everybody gives who's your favorite player and who's your tipsy pick?
For the week.
Yeah.
Yes, I like this. I am prepared for this. I made notes. Let me open them up.
I am not prepared, but I brought it up anyway.
Yeah. I got this. I got you, boo.
Screw you, Joe Boo. I do it myself.
He's questionable now. I don't know. My lockdown player, man, has got to be Michael Thomas again. I think he's just on an unstoppable playoff tear.
Such a beast right now.
Yeah, an unstoppable playoff tear, and I got to have him. I actually had my tipsy pick Keith Kirkwood for the week because I did look at those snap counts and I saw how many he was on there. Unfortunately, I think he got 2 targets. But because of the way that these single entry 2-game slates are, I gotta find somebody off the beaten path, and you might as well take the guy that saw the most snaps as a wide receiver on the New Orleans offense last week. Why not?
Well, all right. So for my lockdown, I'm going to take Damian Williams just because we know that he's got a plus matchup and that he's going to get all of the work. So it just comes down to, I like Kamara, I like James White, but they both have, share backfield snaps. Damian Williams does not have that. I did pick Darrell Williams last week in one of my lineups and still didn't end up cashing. It kind of made me sick that I went Damian and Darrell. They both scored touchdowns and they didn't cash. I screwed up some other places. Tipsy pick, if you're going to go Kirkwood, I'm going to go with Mr. Air Yards Ted Ginn himself.
Love him. Welcome aboard.
Adam?
Yes. Hello. Tipsy pick. Can I go tipsy pick first?
Yes, absolutely.
That's right. So I do what I want.
I should actually tell you my real tipsy pick is the Patriots defense.
No, that is extremely tipsy. Going with the tipsy pick of Mr. Philip Dorsett down there at 3,900.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
That's
Both you guys took my tipsy picks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to get tipsier or quicker, one of the two. Guys that I like up top, I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill in that same game. I think he explodes again like he did in Gillette back in October. What did he go for back then? It was a lot. $140 and a couple touchdowns or something like that. So I think Tyreek Hill goes crazy. I'll have a lot of exposure to him. And I guess that's it, right? Is that what you wanted?
That's it. That's what I wanted. Thanks for playing.
All
right, Mark, you've exhausted all their options. It's time to share your knowledge.
Yeah, so I was going to go Ted Ginn, and then I was going to go Philip Dorsett, but just to be different, I'm going to go Chris Hogan for my tipsy pick.
Oh, you did get drinking tonight.
Yes, I did.
I like it.
Hey, I think another good pick if you're looking to kind of differentiate is going to be like Josh Reynolds. I think that he's going to have a lot of opportunity if the Saints are going to focus in on Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods like they should. Hopefully Josh Reynolds can get some easier matchups.
Yeah, I was thinking about him too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp had a pretty good game against the Saints last time, so I think it's easy to plug him in, or maybe if you're looking at a tight end like Everett or Higbee, they've been getting a couple targets. It's just a matter of getting those guys that get 1 or 2 targets to get the touchdown catch. I was able to do it 2 weeks ago with Dallas Goedert, and then last week with Antonio Gates, and in weeks where the tight end position had been just absolutely garbage, I was able to get low ownership on guys, have the highest scoring guy at a low rate, and be able to spend up in other positions. Tyreek, the last time they played, went for 7 catches for 142 yards and 3 touchdowns, just as a reference.
Ricky. Nice.
Yeah, I'll change my tipsy pick to Josh Reynolds. There you go.
You can't take outside influence on your tipsy pick.
Sure I can. That's the whole point. When you're tipsy, everybody influences you.
In danger, I think if you're going to play New England, I think one of the interesting stacks that you can go with is maybe like a Julian Edelman or New England defense. Julian Edelman, obviously, you're going to play him because he's going to get a ton of targets. He should cut up that defense, but go ahead and throw like Cordell Patterson in there, and hopefully you get kind of like a little dip. You know what was amazing to me last week though was how they did not credit Zach Pascal with a touchdown on the blocked punt. Would have changed a lot of lineups if Zach Pascal had been credited with a touchdown, which he should have been, and I'm not sure why he wasn't, because he was the one who recovered it in the end.
That's weird. That's weird. All right. Well, Mark, did you give me your lockdown pick? I'm sorry.
No, my lockdown is Drew Brees.
I dig it. All right, guys. Well, we got about 19 minutes before we got to cut out of here for Mr. Jora and the Mets 360. I need to start listening to that because I have so many shares of DeGrom that I gotta figure out how that's gonna go. Probably pretty well, to be honest.
Do we want to talk NFL 2019?
Yeah, you know what? That was a really good idea.
TV
Chris
or
brought
movies?
that up. Yeah, Chris brought up the idea of maybe talking through our top 12 picks in a snake draft format as of right now, this upcoming year. Obviously, not taking into account any rookies drafted in positions and all that. Just taking a peek at what's there. So I pulled this up after he talked about it, and it looks like it's like really close split between Todd Gurley and Saquon Barkley right now at the top. Any arguments there for either one of those guys or anyone else, maybe a Zeke, who really proved to be very Gurley-esque the last month of the season? Who do you like in this number one spot overall?
Well, I've been doing a lot of best ball drafts, as I've sent to you guys. I've got about 3 to 5 of them completed right now. A couple of them are incompletion, that's why I say 3 to 5. I think Barkley is the clear number one for me. Here's the thing about Todd Gurley is up until this year, nobody had repeated as a number one running back or the number one overall pick, produced the way that he should 2 years in a row. Now, he didn't have the most points, but I think we can kind of safely say if he had played the last games, which I think he could have, he would have outproduced McCaffrey, would have outproduced Barkley. But that injury history, I think there's signs of regression coming in. He's not going to be used as heavily in the red zone, I would tend to believe, because it was almost historic what he did at the beginning of the year. So I'm thinking Saquon Barkley is my pick.
I don't mind that, and unfortunately, I just hate that team setup, and I just don't know what they're going to do next year. But I do see a lot of value in Barkley at number one.
It won't be any worse than it is right now. That's the thing.
No, that's true story.
In a terrible situation.
True story.
I think that even lends more to him being successful, that there's absolutely nothing else that can be done. I mean, Eli can't throw it downfield to OBJ, and after they get eliminated from the playoffs halfway through the year, he's going to quit and say he's hurt, and it's just going to be the Saquon Barkley show.
Yep. I agree with that. And then that same token, though, the guy that's stealing the show for me is Zeke Elliott. I mean, he's currently trending as the number 4 player, according I'm on this random webpage, fantasyfootballcalculator.com. It looks like they've taken some overall ADPs from around the way and brought it together. It's just a talking point, really. But I like Zeke Elliott for me. I think that he really showed his true colors this last, month to 6 weeks of the season. As soon as they got Cooper on board and there was some kind of other threat besides him, I mean, he was still dominant when it was just him. But as soon as they got Cooper on board and kind of worked that around in the offense over there, he really opened it up, and he's just absolutely stellar, catching the ball in the backfield, just loving it. So for me, it's got to be Zeke Elliott, number 1 overall next year. Mark?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm on the Saquon Barkley train myself. I think he did the most with the least this year. The Giants were just terrible, and yet he was an everyday fantasy standout. And I think we proved down the stretch with Gurley, with C.J. Anderson, is that they're looking to cut him back now. It wouldn't shock me if they re-sign C.J. Anderson just so they can take carries off of Gurley, especially the way they're using him together now. So I think Barkley is my number 1.
Adam, who do you like number 1 overall as of right now for 2019?
Yeah, I'm on the Saquon train as well. I just think his talent is too hard to pass up there. He's so involved in the passing game. Is there anybody more likely to go for 100 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving in the same game? I just think he's too versatile. He can even when they're trailing, he's game flow independent, so he can still absolutely smash even if they get down 3 touchdowns, which the Giants very well could in any given game. But I absolutely love Saquon. I think he's the clear-cut number 1 going into next year.
And I like him a lot, and I probably like him as number 2. I do like him more than Gurley. I just still have hesitancy on these second-year players. It's maybe I haven't actually looked at full stats, but I just still have a little bit of hesitancy giving the guy number 1 overall in year 2.
I mean, he was the top scorer in year one. You could have, if you took him number one this year, I think you were in good shape. But I agree with you. I think Zeke is a fantastic slot. I actually was able to steal him at number 4 in one of my drafts. I think this was before the Cam news that he might be out 2019. So McCaffrey went 3, and it was Saquon and Gurley 1 and 2. But I like Zeke number 2 over Gurley. Just my big thing with Gurley is just those red zone numbers. I mean, if you look back at this, he had 7 touches in the red zone, 11 touches, 3, 5, 14, 8, and then it started to trail down 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 6, 1, 2, 6. I mean, and that's receiving and rushing. So he just had a lot of usage. I don't know if I like him even in the top 3, to be honest. I think it'd be hard to not or take somebody over him at 3, but I definitely like him too.
Yeah, so you other two, are you on board with Zeke as your number 2, or do you have another argument for somebody other than Zeke at 2?
I'm leaning towards Gurley. I think Gurley's been way more consistent, except for when he's been hurt. Zeke tends to fade a couple of times in games. I don't know. I'm just leaning that way. I think it's a clear cut. It can be Zeke or Gurley 2 and 3. So it'll be whichever one falls to me in that spot. But if Barkley's gone at 1, I'm probably taking Gurley at 2.
Yeah, I think the case to make against Zeke and why I wouldn't make him number 1 is that sometimes that offense it just shut down, especially on the road, and you saw situations where the offense couldn't move the ball or sustain drives, and they didn't utilize him in the red zone. They'd use him between the 20s, but then they'd get really close, and just the play calling went out the window. It was terrible. They didn't. I don't know. You had Dak taking a couple of his touchdowns through rushes where you don't have to worry about that with Eli Manning. So, all those things combined is why he kind of gets a step down in my mind. Now, I mean, the real question is if those guys are obviously 1, 2, and 3, who's your 4 and 5? I mean,
right.
Guys, Christian McCaffrey.
Hey, don't jump ahead here. We'll get there, brother. I'm keeping a list. I got to put this in the history books for us. So, but here's the thing for me. I never want number 1 because I always like 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 guys depending on the year, and I'm happy to let decisions be made for me. So I like that 3rd, 4th slot this year because I feel like all those guys are great. I'm happy with all of them. But the reason what I look for if I end up getting stuck at number 1 is I'm not necessarily looking for the guy who's going to score me the most points. I'm looking for the guy that I think is going to finish the whole year consistently, and that's just why I like Zeke. I'm scared about a guy named Barkley that's only had 1 year for me to watch. I'm scared about Gurley because he has been shown to get beat up a little bit. I'm not so scared about Zeke. I think Zeke just is out there every day. I'm not worried about him. He's got that big, huge bruiser body. I'm safe with him. I feel good with him. So I like picking with you guys, and I think that I'd like to pick number 3. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on Zeke. Zeke's the clear-cut number 2 for me, followed by I think Gurley and CMC are probably pretty close as far as I'm concerned for that number 3 pick. If I was sitting in that slot, it would probably depend on if it's a full PPR, probably lean towards CMC and probably lean towards Gurley if it's not, if it's half or if it's no PPR.
So Gurley here's my question about McCaffrey is news has been kind of swirling that possibly Cam Newton's thinking about having this shoulder surgery and missing the whole year. If he misses the whole year, what kind of impact is that on McCaffrey?
Nothing. I think it actually helps him. It'll whoever comes in instead of Cam, that'll be his go-to guy for quick dump-offs and everything else. So I actually think it helps him. It makes him a better fantasy player.
And just off the question, if Cam does take the year off, do you think that they attempt to draft Murray to throw him in there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it helps him either. I think having a running quarterback or a quarterback with a threat to run always helps the running back. It's been proven statistically, and so I think that Cam's presence there certainly helps McCaffrey's production. I don't think that they're going to utilize McCaffrey as much as they did this year, especially if it's a year where it's a throwaway year. So I'd almost look at McCaffrey. It's tough right now looking at the running backs because there's a lot of uncertainty with Le'Veon Bell and whatnot. I can see if there's a little bit more certainty and we know who's going to be the quarterback, he being up in there in the top 5. But I've got him in the lower part of my first round, so I probably won't be getting a lot of McCaffrey, at least in my early best ball drafts.
And on this site, and like I said, this is nothing important. It's just a talking point. They do have him listed as number 3 in front of Zeke in the ADP.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he's being drafted. He's been drafted somewhere between 3 and 5 in all the leagues that I've drafted so far.
Yeah, and if we hadn't seen the last 8 weeks of football, Alvin Kamara would be up there for me, but he just did not finish like he started. So I don't know how I feel about him there too. So I think for me, I'm probably still at Gurley for number 3 for me, since I've had Zeke and Barkley already in there. So Mark, where are you at on number 3? You got Barkley, you got Gurley. Who's your number 3?
I would say Zeke is my number 3 for sure.
Right. And Chris, you had Barkley, you had Zeke. Who's number 3 for you?
Gurley.
All right. So we're basically in consensus here that everybody likes Zeke, Barkley, and Gurley. And pretty much if we had 1, 2, or 3, wouldn't matter. We'd like all 3 of those options. So I like that. Obviously this is going to take longer than the last 7 minutes we have of the show. So let's just stop there at 3, and I'll put this on pause, and I'll hold this paper for next week, and we'll just keep talking about this a few players at a time and build out this ADP of our own.
Sounds good.
I like
Le'Veon Bell.
And that I did want to talk about that. So Le'Veon Bell. I am worried about any player that takes a year off. Absolutely. I am worried about Le'Veon Bell taking a year off because, he's a Spartan, and I know how the Spartans party in the offseason. I think he's going to come in overweight. Now, he might not, because he might want to really come out and prove himself, but there is, that little bit of uncertainty, and it all just depends on where he goes. But the feeling that I unfortunately get is that the man's going to take the largest contract, and he's not necessarily going to go to the best place, and he's not necessarily going to go to the best scenario for him. I worry about that. I worry about that. Maybe he picks a team that fits him well and he wants to make that play out. He hasn't got a championship. So when did he get one championship? Did they win one ring with him?
No.
I don't think so. So, he wants that ring, but obviously, he had a shot this year with that team if he'd have stuck there. So there's obviously more going on there. We don't need to get into that. That's been played, forever. But where do you think he ends up? Where do you like him? Obviously I'm a 49ers fan, and I think my offensive scheme would fit him well, but they also just paid McKinnon a ton of money for no apparent reason.
I think the challenge is wherever he goes is how he's going to be utilized. I don't think he's going to be a bell cow back like he was. Oh, man, I'm doing it too with the names bell cow. I don't think he's going to be utilized the same way that he was in Pittsburgh if he goes to the Jets or the Colts or any of the places that he's been rumored or attached to, or many places, because not a lot of organizations run the running backs into the ground the way that the Steelers do, and I don't think he wants that. I think that was part of him wanting to get out the kind of the workload that they were giving him. He wants the money, but he doesn't want to do everything that comes along with it. So It'll be interesting. I think he's valuable. I've seen him go in my drafts anywhere from that 4 to 6 range all the way into the first half of the second round.
Mm-hmm. Well, the 2 biggest names linked to my 49ers team have been Bell and some underground talkings, and Antonio Brown apparently has come out and said that he would like to play out that way at some point. But I'll take either one. I'll take either one. Yeah. It'll be fine. God. But yeah, obviously my 49ers need some very deep help at wide receiver.
Well, and you think too, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're looking to move Antonio Brown because he's not going to play there, I think the 49ers could put together a very interesting package that includes, a pick or 2, Nick Mullins as an heir apparent to Roethlisberger. A lot of the trade rumors are saying that he could get a 3rd round pick or maybe even better. and maybe even package in a Marquise Goodwin or something like that, or maybe not. Maybe you put more picks in.
If they just straight up trade the second overall pick for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you've got Garoppolo coming back, and Antonio Brown put up some good numbers, and people like to point to that, but they were very inefficient numbers. Not only I heard a stat today, they're like he had the most touchdown catches of wide receiver. Yeah, well, he also had the most interceptions on passes targeted to him of any receiver. So there's a yin and a yang, and I think Ben was trying to force it to him. You don't know how Garoppolo is gonna look, so I don't know. It just depends on the leash that Kyle Shanahan kind of feels that he has on him, and Lynch there. I think you try. I think you do it. I think you do it with Nick Mullins to try and get some back.
Sure, that'd be interesting. Honestly, my luck is Antonio Brown's a Patriot next year.
I don't think so. I don't think you can. He's got a lot of money on that contract, and I don't think they're going to pay for it. And I don't think the attitude that he is portrayed. I mean, Bruce Arians made some comments today or yesterday, and he responded to him on Twitter. So he's very protective of his image, and he is acting like the diva that everybody says he is. It was very unprofessional the way that he ended the season. I just don't see an organization like the Patriots doing something like that.
No, I don't think so.
Unless Tom Brady said,
somebody I love is.
This is my last year. This is it, guys. Let's do it. Let's go get him. This is my last year. I'll take another $5 million pay cut, and let's just go win one more.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, if they win this year, he might walk away. So, just never know. You never know. All right, guys. Well, let's call it a day, man, and let's keep talking about these free agents and these possible trade stuff at the end of these shows, and let's keep working on this ADP, and we'll see how far we can get it built out. And I'll throw it in a sortable spreadsheet so we can move guys up and down as different news comes out, and we'll have some fun with it. Maybe we'll actually have a functional draft tool for the draft next year.
So really quick, since we have 2 minutes left. Did everybody see this Spider-Man Far From Home trailer?
I have not.
It looks phenomenal. And we also have Punisher Season 2 coming on Netflix.
Yeah. I haven't seen the first season yet, so I know I'm behind.
Oh, my God.
I'm trying to watch through the Marvel stuff in order with my son, but since he's in wrestling and baseball and at his mom's every other weekend, it's almost impossible to get through everything. We're still on Defenders Season 1, so...
Infinity War just came on Netflix. I've watched it 6 times.
Yeah, he hasn't seen that yet either, so we got to get working on that too. Yeah. Well, I love you guys, and we'll see you next week, eh?
Enjoy the football, man. It's going to be great.
All right, everybody. This is Draught For Upside. We will see you next week.
See ya.